I think it's very doubtful that they go back to the Buddha. But it would also seem that they are not exactly pre-Buddhistic either. It would seem that before the time of the Buddha, people in India had comparatively hazy ideas about the afterlife. So I think we can probably say that these sort of detailed descriptions neither go back to the Buddha nor belong to pre-Buddhistic Indian tradition. Then, what came after that?
How literally do Tibetans or Indians take these descriptions? Do they consider the hells to be physically existent and geographically located?
I think formally, at least, I don't know about now, Tibetans did take these descriptions quite literally. And then you go on to ask, what was the latter part of that question?
Do they consider the hells to be physically existent?
What does one mean by physically existent? They certainly do seem to regard them, or seem to have regarded them, as being located somewhere, in much the same way that this world itself is located somewhere. And some of the descriptions in chapter 5, or quoted in chapter 5, seem to suggest that the hell realms are located spatially beneath the earth, much as Dante's are in the Divine Comedy. And then what do you go on to ask after
well,
that?
that's the same thing really. Are they geographically located?
Yes, they seem to have been regarded, at least by some Tibetans, as being geographically located, or according to some texts, or according to some traditions.
Bante, that's the idea of the hells, neither goes back to the Buddha nor pre-Buddhistic tradition.
No, I didn't say that the idea of the hells, doesn't go back to the Buddha. I said that these particular descriptions, in other words, these very detailed and specific descriptions, appear not to go back to the Buddha. I wouldn't say that the idea of the hells doesn't go back to the Buddha. The general idea of the hells in the sense of states of suffering after death, though of course in the case of Buddhism, those states would be temporary, would be short-lived.
So does the idea then, the general idea goes back to the Buddha and the pre-Buddhistic tradition?
Pre-Buddhistic tradition? Probably, though as I said, it's rather vague, the pre-Buddhistic tradition about karma and rebirth. One recalls that in one of the Upanishads, one of the earliest of the Upanishads, which is usually considered to be pre-Buddhistic, though that is beginning to be doubted now, the teaching of karma is presented as a mystery, something that is known to very few people. And one doesn't in any case find in the Upanishads or in the Vedic literature very much information at all about the afterlife. It was usually thought that one either went to the moon, to the world of the fathers, or to the sun, to the world of the gods.
Bhante, if these accurate descriptions of hell doesn't come from the Buddha or from other pre-Buddhistic traditions, where do they come from?
Well, Gunther gives a clue, doesn't he, in one of the footnotes. He says that what does he say? Something to the effect that the Tibetans were fond of fantasizing about these things. Perhaps that's not altogether fair, because perhaps the Indians, were too. Perhaps one has to distinguish between the general principle and the specific form that the principle takes, or the principle, the specific form that the principle is given in a particular literature or in a particular tradition. I'm sure that's going to lead on to another question.
Thank you. Most of the hells seem to have Sanskrit names, so presumably it was fairly well worked out in India.
Yes. The Tibetans, they do seem to have filled in the details, or the details that weren't, given rather lovingly, one might say.
We can all have a question in the area, so we probably will cover. Mike, has your question been answered?
Well, I'm not sure. I was just going to simply ask, do the hell realms actually exist as a separate realm from a human, where one can be reborn, not as a human being in any form, but as a distinct hell being?
Let's take that little by little.
Do the hell realms actually exist as a separate realm from the human?
Because that does raise the question of what one means by actually exist, or even what one means by exist. But let's take it that one is asking, whether the hell realms exist in the same way that the world exists, howsoever it may be that the world exists. And the answer to that is definitely yes. In Buddhist tradition, those worlds are regarded as existing in that sense, whatever it may be. In other words, the hell realms are not regarded simply as representations or concretizations, as it were, of subjective states experienced by human beings. That's not the traditional teaching. So in a way that answers the question, in a way it doesn't, because in order to answer the question fully, that is to say, in order, among other things, to answer the question of whether the hell realms have a real existence, an actual existence, one has to go into the general question of what one means by actual existence, whether the hell realms or any other realms. But the traditional Buddhist teaching certainly is that this world exists as a realm, the realm of human beings. The animal realm exists. The Preta realm exists. The Asura realm exists. The hell realm exists, and the world or worlds of the gods also exist. All in principle the same sense. So that if one is real, the others are real. If one is actual, the others are actual. If one is not real, the others are not real. If one is not actual, the others are not actual. The degree of reality, so to speak, that attaches to one, attaches to all. This is the traditional teaching.